Shoestring TV.
Deep within the gloomy, dimly lit woodland of Limbo, a thick mist quietly roams across the land. Once a forest echoing with the hushed whispers of wandering lost souls, the transformation has rendered Limbo a quieted, desolate place, rotten. Black trees with molded burls standing at angles in a grove, arching downwards as if peering towards the blackened ground below. Sprouting from the trunk of the mouldering trees are thick roots, unearthed and exposed, coated in mist and murky dew. A hooded figure approaches the grove and kneels before the exposed roots. The mysterious cloaked presence thrusts its fist into the hardened dirt, firmly grasping the roots and pulls at their stems, inching them out of the ground. It looks up at the hazy sky above as the hood falls away, revealing its hideous, demonic visage. The fiend closes its eyes, moans and sways back and forth in the dirt and rot. A sudden flash trembles across its horrifying brow, and the demon's eyes open again. It gasps and growls, and a half grin appears on its malformed face.
Mommy?
Yes, honey? Why aren't you sleeping, baby? It's the middle of the night.
There is someone in my room.
What? Where's your father?
That's who is in my room. But someone is pretending to be him.
What do you mean, honey?
It looks like him, but he doesn't move like Daddy. He smiles all the time.
Come here, honey. You stay right here. I'll go to your room and check it out.
Please don't go, Mommy.
Theo, it will be okay. I promise. Just stay right here, and I'll be right back. Just gonna go check on Daddy.
East of the Mississippi River in St. Charles County, in the township of Darden, an 8-year-old boy, Theo Banks, leaves his home at first light wearing only his pajamas and a backpack. His bare feet hurry down the doorstep at the front of his house, and then the young boy makes haste towards refuge behind a parked sedan in the front yard. Theo pauses for a moment, catching his breath, as he examines the front door of his house. Once he feels he is safe and that no one is coming for him, he opens his backpack and fetches a military-style compass. The antique brass World War II pocket compass passed down from his grandfather is discolored due to corrosion, but the floating dial still works perfectly. Theo turns the compass and observes as the dial travels slowly around the bevel ring until it points east. He couldn't remember how he obtained the information, but being an observant child, he knew the nearest police station was in Cottleville, and that Cottleville was east of Camino Trail, the street in which he lives. His dad had always said if he ever needed to get help, if his parents weren't able to, call Officer Turtletaub in Cottleville. Unfortunately, Theo couldn't make a phone call right now. The phone line wasn't dead, but he was frightened by the voices on the other end of the line. The compass points east. So, Theo heads east. Theo uses the Darden Creek as his guide. The young boy travels through harsh wind and rain. The ankles of his pajama bottoms become stained with mud. He crosses an intersecting creek holding his backpack over his head as he traverses through the neck-deep water. He loses his footing in the muck during his journey and tumbles down a small hill. The contents of his backpack spill out in all directions. Later, after retrieving his belongings, he looks towards the sky and observes as sunlight peeks through the weakening storm clouds. Further into his trip, Theo can hear the low hum of large power lines overhead. Aside from the occasional interesting landmark or flyby from a blue jay or white-crowned sparrow, Theo keeps his head lowered, his eyes to the ground, so as not to make eye contact in the rare chance he is spotted and could attract attention. The rural landscape in this sparsely populated township has made this secretive hike all the more covert. But he doesn't want to take any chances or spark the interest of someone wanting to help a soiled and desperate 8-year-old boy. Theo attempts to stay on task, only occasionally allowing his imagination to take over. That he is the only child on Earth, traveling a post-apocalyptic landscape with the help of his trusty robot, Spark. Reality returns as soon as his feet touch pavement. Theo looks up and realizes he's reached the Cottleville Police Department parking lot. By the time Theo Banks enters the police department, he is grimy, thirsty, and exhausted. Theo attempts to gain the desk officer's attention, but his throat is too dry to speak.
Excuse me, officer.
I'm just saying it's not the same. Give me an old-fashioned percolator. Hell, I'll spring for it. What are they called? K-cups? Pods? That ain't coffee. Get me a bag of whole beans windmill black, a coffee grinder. Now that's a cup of joe, by God. Oh, I'm sorry there, little fella. I was on one of my rants. How can I help you?
My dad.
Do you mind coming a little closer? I can barely make out what you're saying.
Theo sets his backpack aside and approaches the desk. The desk officer is taken aback by the young boy's appearance.
My dad. He said if there was trouble to contact Officer Turtletop.
Sure, son. Hey, are you hungry? You like PB&J? And some hot cocoa?
Yes, sir.
I'll be right back, okay?
The desk officer steps away. A little while later, Theo is met by Officer Turtletop.
Hey, you Hugh Banks boy, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what happened, son?
Someone is pretending to be my dad, and Mommy went to check on him, but she never came back.
Never came back? Is she missing?
No, she went into my room where Dad was, and she never came out.
Okay, son, I understand. Listen, I need to ask you some things that may be hard to think about, hard to say. You might not like telling me, but I'll need to know so I can help you. Is that all right, son?
Yes, I think so.
Were your mom and dad having a fight?
No, sir. We were all sleeping until I heard my dad talking. He was in my room, and it was like he was talking to someone that wasn't there. And then I saw his face, and I knew that it wasn't really him.
As Theo explains the strange circumstances that took place the night before, Officer Turtletop takes note of the boy's condition.
Where'd you get those scratches?
I fell on the way here, down a hill.
And that mark on your sleeve there? How'd that happen? Was that mark on your sleeve from falling down the hill?
Theo trembles as he shakes his head.
Can you tell me how you got that mark on your sleeve, Theo?
I tried to peek under my door to see if Mommy was okay, but I placed my hand in.
Was it something wet?
Yes, sir. I think it was blood.
Two police cruisers race through St. Charles Street. Officer Turtledorp operates the patrol car in front, with Theo as his passenger. The police cruisers decrease in speed as they arrive at the Banks residence on Camino Trail. Nothing out of the ordinary can be discerned from the outside. Officer Turtledorp turns to face Theo, who is sitting in the back seat eating a sandwich and sipping on some hot cocoa.
Now, Theo, I'm gonna take a look inside to see if I can talk to your parents, okay? Can you tell me, do you have any pets inside?
No, sir. Well, there's a goldfish.
Now, that goldfish isn't gonna leap out of his aquarium and try to attack me with his little flippers, will he?
Fish have fins, not flippers.
Well, that's a relief. Now, listen, you stay in the car no matter what, okay? Once I've had a good look-see inside, I'll come right back and let you know if everything is fine. Deputy McGuire, he's the one with that funny mustache standing right outside. He'll keep an eye on you while I'm gone. Sound good?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Officer Turtledorp exits the vehicle, turns to the deputy, and they both nod at one another. Officer Turtledorp begins to approach the Banks residence, unfastening his holster and resting his hand against the butt of his service pistol.
This is the police.
The initial response to the announcement of his presence is met with silence. But soon after, Officer Turtledorp can hear a commotion inside as if someone is descending the stairs.
Mr. Banks?
The front door abruptly swings open wide. Officer Turtledorp backs away from the entrance, his service weapon drawn. Deputy McGuire also has his revolver aimed at Hugh Banks, who is wide-eyed and panic-stricken.
Holy Mary, Mother of God.
Hugh Banks is pale, shaking, and completely covered in blood. He looks skyward and shrieks a blood-curdling scream.
Shoestring TV presents Brawn, Episode 10, Limbo.
At daybreak, Leo stands in his bathroom, bracing himself against the porcelain sink. The water from the faucet is running, but Leo seems not to notice that his pager is summoning him back to the ORA. Finally, he runs his hands through the flowing water, splashes some of it on his grief-stricken face. Afterwards, he finishes off a glass of whiskey and stares at his own reflection. He grimaces and begins to tremble, gnashing his teeth. Leo erupts into an uncontrollable rage and launches his fist towards his reflection, shattering the mirror. Someone raps on Leo's door. He opens it to find Jillian on the other side.
I got your message. What happened to your hand? It's bleeding.
Mirror got in the way. What happened to yours?
I ordered scrambled eggs, not sunny side up.
Understood.
You have the...
Yeah, 1 sec.
Back in St. Charles County, Missouri, Hugh Banks remains prone on the front porch as both officer and deputy keep their weapons drawn. Theo looks on in horror from the back seat of the patrol car.
He has my wife.
Deputy McGuire, stay with the boy. Keep your eyes trained on him. Sir, Mr. Banks, how many are inside?
I don't know. Just one, I think. He has her.
Has who?
My wife.
I'm going in. Deputy, you don't lose sight of that boy and keep your weapon right where it is.
Deputy McGuire affirms the order. Officer Turtledorp enters the Banks residence with his gun drawn. Hugh Banks then stands, his arms at his side. He turns to his son Theo, who is still sitting in the backseat of the patrol car, and teases a gingerly wave.
Mr. Banks, what are you doing?
Hugh Banks leaps backwards into the house and the door slams shut. Theo can hear on the radio as Deputy McGuire calls for backup in a panic. Leo enters the Devil's Den of the ORA. He's met with Captain Mangood, Willie Topaz, and Laurie Stryker.
Okay, the gang's all here. I'll get down to it. We have a Stage 4 possession occurring east of the Mississippi River in St. Charles County, Missouri, located in the Dardenne Township. The subject is Hugh Banks, 37, husband of Beatrice Banks, 29, and father of Theo Banks, who is 8 years of age.
Where's the boy now?
In the custody of the Cottleville Police Department, safe and sound for the time being.
And the wife, Beatrice?
Unknown, but all reports lead us to believe that she is deceased. Hugh, while under the influence of a demonic spirit, has also taken a police officer hostage. Nasty business.
Leo begins heading to the briefing room to obtain his briefcase.
Leo, not so fast. Stryker, Topaz, you're up. Transmigration subjects were pre-selected and loaded onto the slab.
We're on it, Cap.
Before you go, keep this in mind. There is heavy police presence, so be cautious. Dispatch has gone through great lengths to set up a temporary cover for you both in most departmental databases in case anyone gets suspicious. But like in all things in our line of work, it's a short-term stopgap at best. Stay vigilant and as a low profile as you can. The cover won't last long. You'll both be posing as police officers with Miss Stryker having the added specialty of crisis negotiator.
Wait, hold on. Shouldn't I be the crisis negotiator? I mean, I am the trained actor here.
Miss Stryker will be posing as Lieutenant Becky Salt, who just so happens to actually be a crisis negotiator. So unless you want to wear a wig, a bra, and some high heels, we'll leave the acting for another day. Now, listen up. Priority 1 is to get in that house and acquire the subject for some FaceTime. Keep all other civilians, and in this case that includes the other officers, as far away as possible from that house. Okay, you have your orders. Dismissed. Leo, come with me.
A large garage door slowly raises, ultimately revealing a blacked-out military model Humvee.
You wanted to know how we capture actual demons causing all this fuss? Today, you'll be Tracker, not Hunter. And I'll be joining you.
Demon Tracker? So...
I can see the wheels turning in that big brain of yours already, but hold your questions. We have to get moving. I'll explain on the way. Hop in.
A behemoth of a man enters the driver's side of the Humvee. He's clearly a foot taller than Leo, with a broad and muscular frame, and adorned with a lion's mane of long and blonde hair. He hops into the driver's seat, starts the ignition. As the engine roars, he steps on the gas and they race out of the garage. Now on the road, the driver of the Humvee makes quick work of the city streets, and shortly they are off-roading in more rough and weathered terrain.
Who's the driver?
That's Gorm, of Nordic descent. A former pro wrestler from the Norwegian Wrestling Federation, who went by the name Grendel. He's also the best goddamn tracker we've ever had.
Hi, Gorm. I'm Leo. Nice to meet you.
Ah, he must like you. Usually he's not so chatty.
Gorm flips a switch on the center console and a display panel emits a faint green glow within the dashboard. Leo stares at the display with great interest.
You want to know how?
You read my mind.
Think of the possession as a two-way call, a signal with two endpoints. The possessed subject being the destination and the demon as the source of the signal. As you can imagine, it would have to be pretty strong signal to travel through time and space, not to mention parallel universes in multiple states of existence. And being such an intense signal, it is equally wide-ranging and therefore bouncing off material and immaterial. Think spiritual. Obstacles which provide us with enough geographical and topographical information to pinpoint a location.
So, it's like GPS.
Actually, think sonar. You know how that works?
Well, if being a fan of the Hunt for Red October counts, then yeah.
Yeah, okay, so sonar uses sound waves to detect objects in the water, or in this case, on land. When the sound bounces back, the echo measures the strength and time it took for the sound to travel to and from an object. That's just basic sonar 101. The echoes we receive are amplified, and we receive a readout of the location on the display panel. It also maps out terrain and helps us avoid smashing into the side of a mountain.
Gorm taps on the screen as the sonar begins emitting a pulse.
Hey, he's got something. I'd advise you to buckle up at this point.
Leo straps in as the Humvee accelerates, racing off into the distance. Meanwhile, back in the capital city of Dante, Jillian anxiously enters the Jumping Jehoshaphat's coffee shop with the express intention of finding Sebastian. But to her dismay, she discovers the mysterious man who met her on the street yesterday, sitting alone at a booth. She approaches the booth and sits down.
Where is he?
Miss Burkett, you came. I apologize for being so curt yesterday. I neglected to give you my name. I'm Howard.
You said I'd be meeting Sebastian here. Howard. Where is he? Is that curt enough for you?
Not here.
I can see that.
No. I'm sorry. I'm not cut out for this. We shouldn't speak here.
You said...
I know what I said, but I'm pretty sure I've been followed all morning.
Followed? Okay, Howard. You see that napkin? Drop it on the floor, under the table, and then pick it up.
What?
You heard me. Do it. Now.
Howard reluctantly follows Jillian's instructions. He slides the napkin off the table, but it just falls on the bench seat he's sitting on.
Shit.
He looks around the coffee shop and then proceeds to push the napkin off the edge of the seat until it falls on the floor. Howard takes in a deep breath and then leans down to pick up the napkin, and to his trepidation comes face to face with the working end of a 9mm handgun.
So, we understand each other?
Yes.
Sit the fuck up.
Where'd you get a gun?
Demon hunter friend of mine. Now, I have no idea what would happen if I pulled the trigger. Would your head just pop open like a melon? Or would the bullet just bounce off of you like a caped crusader? But I have a feeling it wouldn't feel too good either way. And I'm starting to get very fucking curious.
Uh-huh.
If you know where Sebastian is, take me to him. Now. Nod if you understand.
Howard nods. They leave the coffee shop, and Howard directs Jillian to his car, which is parked behind it. Howard steers his pale green 1976 AMC Gremlin through the streets of Dante towards Sebastian's location. Jillian sits in the passenger seat with her gun, still trained on him.
Can this thing go any faster? From what I can tell, there aren't any speed limits.
Although they were much maligned, the AMC Gremlin is considered a classic in my book. and therefore must be handled with care.
How much will it depreciate in value with a couple of bullet holes in it? Speed up!
Unbeknownst to Jillian and Howard, a dark maroon 1987 Oldsmobile 442 pulls in behind them. Jillian notices two shadowy figures inside.
Howard? Well, I'll give you this. You weren't lying about being followed.
You thought I was... Oh, shit.
Without warning, the Oldsmobile accelerates, swerving into the opposite lane, and pulls alongside the gremlin. Then the car rams into the gremlin's driver's side door. Howard's hand slips off the steering wheel and he loses control. Jillian braces herself for impact as the car careens into a newspaper stand. The vehicle is upended and the roof slams hard against the pavement, grinding metal as it slides to a stop, leaving Jillian unconscious in the aftermath. Back in Missouri, Officer Turtledove is bound and gagged in an office chair in the attic of Hugh Banks' home. Attempting to maintain his composure, he inspects the loft. Hugh Banks is standing at the far side of the attic in a corner, talking to himself. As he converses with no one, he furiously tugs at his hair, pulling out tufts of it as he gets increasingly agitated. Then Hugh drops his trousers and proceeds to urinate in the corner. The officer looks away and notices something in the reflection of a mirror secured by a chest of drawers. A woman, most likely Beatrice Banks, is lying prostrated on the floor of the attic. She is bloodied and battered, and if she is alive, her breathing is too shallow to tell. Officer Turtledove suddenly gets the feeling he's being watched and turns to see Hugh Banks standing right in front of him.
Might I ask your name, sir?
Officer Turtledove motions with his eyes as if to indicate he can't speak while gagged. The demonic spirit instructs Hugh to examine the embroidered emblem bearing his name that is pinned to his uniform.
Officer Turtle Tub. So, Officer Turtle, let us make some music.
In Limbo, the cloaked demon casting a hold over Hugh Banks instantly jerks his head as if something has caught his immediate attention. In the attic of the Banks residence, Hugh Banks mimics the demon's movements, allowing the evil spirit to see through Hugh's eyes.
I hear something.
The possessed man walks over to the large floor-to-ceiling attic window and peers out of it. From his vantage point, he can see about a half-mile stretch of St. Charles Street. He can also see a string of patrol cars heading his way, sirens lit up and blaring. The demon is witness to it as well.
Oh, Officer Turtle, I see your friends.
Hugh Banks bursts through his front door, ignoring his son Theo, who still remains in the backseat of the patrol car. Hugh walks out into the middle of St. Charles Street, facing the line of police cruisers that are bearing down on him.
I'm ready.
The demon in the foggy forest smiles balefully as it snaps one of the roots and watches a black, syrupy liquid seeping out of the wound. The street under the three impending police cruisers erupts into flames, and the pavement underneath them begins to liquefy, turning into boiling molten sludge. The intense heat melts the tires of the patrol cars. At these high speeds, the police officers struggle to maintain control until the tires disintegrate, exploding into fiery balls of flames. Two of the cruisers collide into each other, catapulting both off the road and into a withered corn crop. The cars furiously roll through the damaged crop, sending glass, metal, and rubber sprawled in all directions. The one remaining police car still approaches as it grinds its metal rims against the burning road. The police officer presses the gas pedal to the floor, but the high temperature is too powerful as it causes a breach within the undercarriage. Flames shoot upwards, using the officer's police uniform as kindling. The flames rapidly travel across the officer's body. As he screams in agony, the car, rudderless and broken down, slams at full speed into a telephone pole. The Humvee slows to a stop. The massive former wrestler Gorm steps out of the vehicle.
Igor!
Gorm runs with purpose and disappears into the gloom.
What did he say?
He's caught a scent. You'll never convince me that even the most advanced technology, of which we are in extremely short supply here, will ever replace the skills of an experienced tracker. His nose has never been wrong. In the meantime, we wait.
I'm surprised he could track anything with as dense as the fog is out here. Speaking of out here, where are we? What part of hell is this? It feels...
Like you're in a dream?
Yes, exactly. I can't think of a better way to put it. It's like that feeling you get when you wake from a dream, but you can't figure out if you're truly awake or still sleeping.
Leo, welcome to Limbo.
Wait, the actual Limbo?
More accurately, formerly known as. No longer the borderland between heaven and hell like it used to be. Since the transformation, the replacement location of Limbo hasn't been disclosed, but this place, it's been all but abandoned, just like so many other parts around here. But I swear, when it's quiet enough, you can still hear the whispers of the condemned souls crying out, like leftovers. I try not to linger here any longer than I have to.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Since the transformation. But what was it like before?
Before the transformation?
Were you here?
Oh yeah, I was here all right. Nothing I can say will give you the full appreciation of just how awful it really was. Whatever you've read about it, Dante's Inferno, Paradise Lost, it was infinitely worse. You have to remember, Alighieri, Milton, they were just authors and poets who happened to be very much alive, so they had no fucking clue. At first, it was just darkness. I don't know for how long. There was no sense of time. But you're surrounded by constant cries, screaming, and torture. When the darkness would fade, however temporarily, you were made to bear witness to whatever the very worst, depraved, painful thing that could be dreamt up played out right in front of you. Your innermost insecurities and fears laid bare, vulnerable, defenseless, naked, the suffering and torment, all in service for the amusement of some malicious entity you never see. If I'm being intentionally vague here, Leo, it is only because I'm not ready to say the words. Most of us are still coping.
Look, I won't say I understand because that just feels wrong to say, but I hear you. When did things, change?
At first there was just darkness like any other day, but then it was as if the early morning began to unfold right before our eyes. It was our first dawn. We could move freely, and to our astonishment, there were blue skies overhead and vast, empty fields. Many of us huddled around a campfire that night, struggling to believe it. A few days later, there were a smattering of buildings, as if they had just been erected with the snap of a finger. Suddenly, pangs of hunger returned, and we were fed. Within a month's time, a city had formed. There was happiness. We rejoiced, if that was even possible. In all that time before, I never once saw Satan. Wasn't even sure he actually existed until the day of the announcement. It was similar to a town meeting. We all gathered around, and then Satan emerged and announced the assignment program. 72 hours later, I was captain of the ORA.
Oh, Jesus. Did you ever ask why?
Why? Why what?
Now, why the transformation? The assignments? Why are demonic possessions suddenly illegal? I know there's the mandate, but possessing humans, isn't that like the whole point? Spiritual attacks on the weak, the morally vacant, those who have lost faith, the corrupt, those most susceptible to being physically or psychologically broken down, to make them question the existence of a higher power, all part of some holy battle between heaven and hell, and now suddenly all just stops? Why?
It's a good question, a question that should be asked, but for those of us here before everything changed, we're just thankful we don't have to exist in that god-awful place. I'm not naive. I'm not walking around with blinders on, but I don't think any of us that were here before are ready to question it. Quite frankly, Mr. Brawn, I'm not afraid of much, but I'm scared to death to hear what the answer might be.
Why, because it could mean something even more sinister is coming down the road?
Because I'm afraid there was never any reason at all, that it was just decided on a whim to create Hell 2.0. And if that's the case, then it can all change again in an instant.
I see your point.
But that doesn't satisfy your curiosity. I can see the wheels are still turning.
Oh, I just have one more question.
Go ahead.
What the hell do your initials stand for? FJ.
Oh, well now that is the most closely guarded secret in all of Dante. Oh, he's smiling. This means we're getting close. Leo, keep your eyes peeled on that tree line. Be ready for anything. Gorm, let's go.
Meanwhile, Jillian emerges from her blackout. She's sitting upside down, still buckled into the passenger seat. Her head is throbbing. She turns towards the driver, Howard, and discovers he's missing. She can hear a crowd forming around the overturned vehicle as she witnesses through a cracked windshield Howard limping down the street attempting to escape. She unbuckles the seatbelt and lowers herself until she's upright again. She kicks the windshield forcefully until the sheet of glass crashes against the pavement. Wasting no time, she crawls out of the upturned gremlin, stands to her feet, and heads towards Howard, who has disappeared into an alley. Jillian reaches for her gun, but suddenly realizes she is no longer in possession of it.
Excuse me, miss. Are you okay?
Yep, peachy. Hey, I don't suppose any of you have a gun.
No, sorry. Oh, but I do have a nail file.
That'll have to do.
As she retrieves the nail file, Jillian notices the Oldsmobile rounding a corner and heading in her direction. She dashes towards the alley where Howard is hidden. The dark maroon car speeds up, intending to run Jillian over. Only a foot away from the alleyway's entrance, Jillian leaps just as the Oldsmobile is about to bear down on her. She lands hard, tumbling into the alleyway, immediately rising to her feet and dusting herself off until the 9mm is pressed against her temple.
How curious are you now, Miss Burkett?
Howard shoves himself behind Jillian, restraining her arms. He presses the barrel of the gun against the base of Jillian's neck. In the commotion, she notices Howard's leg is bleeding.
Eyes forward.
You're bleeding.
I'll be fine.
You said you weren't cut out for this.
I said I'll be fine.
At the entrance of the alleyway, the engine of the Oldsmobile shuts off, and two large men dressed in black overcoats, black slacks, and black loafers exit the vehicle.
You sure about that?
As they move closer, Jillian realizes that they are not just dressed identically. Their faces are also exactly alike.
Ah, twins. Wonderful.
The burly twins move slowly without ever exhibiting any hint of emotion. They wear blank, expressionless faces, deep-set, lifeless eyes, pale skin with crudely pronounced jowls. Their mouths remain open.
Give me the gun.
What? Why?
Twins really creep me out.
No, you're just going to shoot me.
Not my highest priority at the moment.
How can I trust you?
Howard, do you see the two giant men in black that have us cornered in an alleyway? I don't think Hefty and Brawny over there are just planning to yell at us for not using the crosswalk.
If I give you the gun...
Oh, fuck this.
In a swift motion, Jillian disarms Howard. He yelps as she shoves him out of the way. Jillian aims the handgun at the twins straight away and fires. 2 rounds hit each of the twins square in the chest. She fires one more shot that appears to miss them both. The twins fall to the ground, face down on the hard concrete below. Howard views the chaotic scene as an opportunity to flee. Sensing his movement, Gillian turns and lunges for Howard, but he escapes her clutches. He trips over a trash can as he hightails it out of the alleyway. Turning to face the twins once more, Gillian's blood turns cold as she witnesses both lumbering men attempt to return to their feet.
Okay, so no guns. Guess that settles it.
Gillian conceals the handgun in the small of her back and makes haste out of the alleyway, escaping before the giants fully recover. Once she's cleared a safe distance, Gillian resumes pursuing Howard. Back in the alley, the 2 identical Hulks slowly make their way back to the car. One of the twins swiftly moves to the passenger side of the Oldsmobile and forcefully shuts the door. Meanwhile, as the other twin approaches the driver's side, he inadvertently steps into a puddle. Upon closer inspection, he notices a bullet hole that has pierced the gas tank, resulting in fuel spilling all over the street. Willie and Laurie arrive at the scene of the Banks residence and immediately notice the fiery wreckage nearby.
What the hell happened here?
Has to be some of our baddies' handiwork.
In the distance, the demon hunters posing as police officers hear cries for help. They make their way to the corn crop, where they find 2 police cruisers billowing with smoke and uniformed police officers leaning against the wreckage of one of the patrol cars. He's badly injured and burned.
What's your name, officer?
Shepard. Officer Shepard.
Okay, Officer Shepard. I'm Lieutenant Becky Salt, and that is Sergeant Dwayne Tipton. We're gonna get you some help.
I can't call it in. The radio's busted.
What happened here, officer?
Well, we were responding to a 1038. We knew one of ours was taken hostage. That the wife hasn't been seen, possibly killed.
What about their son, Theo?
Deputy McGuire called in the code. He said he had custody of the boy.
Where is the deputy?
We never even made it to the house before the road. Everything was covered in fire.
Officer Shepard, where's the deputy?
I'm trying to say, we never made it. Never canvassed the scene, never spoke to McGuire. It's like something was keeping us from approaching the house. I can't explain it.
Sergeant, can I speak with you for a moment?
Laurie and Willie distance themselves from the injured officer.
What is it?
So much for going undercover. The fucking evil bastard barely left anyone for us to convince.
We need to get these guys to a hospital. But if we call it in, we risk putting more lives at risk.
Before they can determine their next course of action, Laurie and Willie are alerted to the sound of a police siren. The patrol car parked on the Banks property intermittently signaling out.
Stay put, Officer Shepard. We're going to get you the help you need.
Let's check it out.
The demon hunters approach the patrol car. Theo Banks is in the front passenger seat, pressing the button to activate the sirens. The young boy turns the siren off as Willie approaches the driver's side door and opens it.
Hi there. Are you Theo Banks?
Yes, sir.
Are you okay, Theo?
Yes, but I'm scared.
I know. I can understand that. But we're here now. We won't let anything happen to you.
Sergeant Tipton, a word?
That's my partner. Stay put, Theo. I'll be right back.
Are you going away?
No, I'm just going to see what my partner wants, but I'm staying right here.
Okay, thank you.
Willie closes the car door and then walks to the other side of the vehicle. Before he reaches Laurie, he sees it. Deputy McGuire's body is leaning against the patrol car, pale as a sheet and frozen in fear. His service revolver lays in his left hand.
Damn it!
It looks like he shot himself.
Or the demon forced his hand. Either way, I hope Theo didn't see it.
Willie looks at the little boy sitting quietly in the patrol car. The young boy is doing his best to fight back tears.
Do we know anything about the demon in question? This is next level shit we're seeing here. I'm going in.
Wait, Laurie, let's talk about this. Of the two of us, I have more experience.
I know that, Willie, but you are clearly much better with kids. And someone has to stay with him. If what we've just witnessed is just the beginning, I can't think of anyone that would do a better job of keeping him safe.
Okay. Well, let's at least weevil up so we can keep in touch with each other.
fuck?
Shit. Okay, no weevils.
That's it. Enough dicking around.
Get that son of a bitch.
Keep the boy safe. Mr. Banks?
Gorm pulls the Humvee to a stop when the demon trackers reach a clearing just as the pulse emitter rapidly increases in succession. He jumps out of the vehicle and climbs in the back. He pulls a top off a large object which stands at the center of the rear hatch opening. It's revealed to be a large net launcher that is mounted to a turret. Gorm sits in a chair attached to the net launcher and pulls the charging handle, loading the first net canister. He grabs the handle grips and adjusts the aim. Then, he powers up a dashboard affixed to the side of the launcher and flips open a panel. Gorm pulls a device resembling a joystick upward until it locks in place and begins to manipulate the apparatus, pushing it forward. The Humvee begins crawling across the terrain.
Okay, Leo, be ready. We're getting close.
The pulse increases even further.
He said...
I'm pretty sure he said we're getting close.
You catch on fast.
Oh, Cap, watch out!
Large, thick roots spring forth from the ground, sending dirt flying into the air. The roots flank the Humvee and violently stab at its armored shell, attempting to penetrate it. Gorm maneuvers the Humvee just in time to dodge a striking blow from the menacing roots. He pushes the control column forward and the vehicle accelerates, pinning one of the offending roots beneath it. The restrained root squirms in an attempt to break free. A second root rises up, preparing to strike. Gorm fires the net launcher as the root advances towards the Humvee. The net spreads wide in the air, collides with the incoming root, and swarms it with its thick webbing. The neutralized root plummets to the earth below.
Vidunkur! What?
Vidump!
Earmuffs, Leo.
What?
Cover your ears!
Something underneath the Humvee is activated, and a sonic burst pounds the ground. The root goes limp and begins to decay. The second root, entrapped in the heavy net, breaks loose and retracts back into the ground like a deadly dagger returning to its sheath. It pulls back to the grove, causing the ground to ripple, providing a clear path back to where the cloaked demon kneels, its robed back facing the demon trackers. Gorm sees the fiend and adjusts the aim of the launcher. The pulse no longer releases a staggering pulse and instead issues an almost constant high-pitched hum. The console beeps and soon another notification appears on the waterfall display panel. The captain exits the rear seat and leans into the front of the military vehicle. She disables the pulse emitter and inspects the new readout.
Oh my god. Gorm, we need to fall back. Leo? Leo?
Captain Mangut turns to face Leo, but the back of the Humvee is empty. To her dismay, Leo is walking towards the demon with his briefcase in hand. Gorm loads up the next canister and aims the launcher at the demon.
Wait! Gorm, stand down. You'll hit Leo. Leo, get back to the Humvee. That's an order, Demon Hunter.
Leo ignores the order. He places his briefcase on the ground and steps a few feet closer to the demon.
Leo, that's a Class A demon.
Yeah, and what does that mean?
It means it's not a descendant. It's one of the first hierarchy. That is Belith himself, former king of hell.
Oh, a former king. And now what? You got a bit of a green thumb there, Belith?
Leo, god damn it! Be ready, Gorm.
Class A. I'm a Class A asshole myself. I'm the type who will tell you where to put it if I don't like where you got it. And it just so happens you caught me on a really bad day.
The demon Belith stands and turns to face Leo, revealing a frightening countenance. He is cat-like in appearance with pale yellow skin, a low furrowed brow with small but pronounced horns protruding upwards, piercing yellow eyes severed in half by black slits for pupils, and ears narrow and triangular that point upwards at an angle. As he begins to speak, his open mouth hints at rows of serrated fangs.
I was once a king. The mighty, the terrible, they called me. Once summoned, I would make my ingress accompanied by such grand orchestral arrangements. But alas, Now it's gone. He's taken my music.
He?
That reprobate. The defector. Satan.
Well, guess what? No one cares. I'm not just gonna stand here and watch you make some poor young kid an orphan because you're butthurt over losing your VIP status.
Ah, yes, this Mr. Banks wastrel. Yes, slaughtered his betrothed. And no doubt he will do the same to his youngling once given a push. But haven't we all lost something? I lost my music. The young lad Theo will soon lose his parents. And then there is you. You've lost something too.
And not another word.
Don't listen to him, Leo. He personifies deception.
Both of them. Such a tragedy.
Leo is trembling with uncontrollable rage. His briefcase vibrates behind him. He opens it up and pulls out a large wooden bat from its interior.
You want to hear music? Let's see if I can sing you a tune.
Shit. He's gonna get himself killed.
This is for Louise and Harry.
Laurie Stryker cautiously sidles her way through the living room of the Banks household until she reaches the stairs.
Mr. Banks, this is Lieutenant Becky Salt. Can you hear me?
Laurie makes her way to the second floor. She discovers the attic stairs remain extended and she proceeds to climb them. The attic is musty and smells of mildew and moisture. There's also the sour smell of perspiration. She notices Officer Turtledove bound and gagged in the chair in the center of the room. He's slumped over. Laurie checks his vitals. He's alive but unconscious. Between an antique bed frame and the far side wall under the windowsill lies Beatrice Banks. Laurie rushes over to her limp body. Both her eyes are swollen shut and her head and face are covered in her own blood. Laurie places her middle and index finger to the side of Beatrice's windpipe to feel for a pulse when suddenly...
Is she dead?
Mr. Banks!
There is... something happening to me. I don't feel it. The presence right now.
You should come with me, Mr. Banks. We should get you out of here right now.
Back in Limbo, Leo continues pummeling Bella, the demon with the bat.
Why can't you leave us all alone?
Leo tosses the bat and begins punching the demon with his bare fists. Gorm and Captain Mangot can do little more than watch. The former wrestler begins to exit the Humvee.
Yaz will help her.
No. No, you'd never survive it. Leo shouldn't be able to do this. I can't explain it.
Leo grabs Beleth by the horns and hauls back for another punch. Before he strikes, Leo notices something unsettling happening. Unfolding underneath the demon's robe, two tattered but intact wings slowly emerge from either side of the demon's body. Beleth's eyes widen as he prepares to take flight.
Gorm! Fire!
Gorm wastes no time, firing the net launcher instantly. Beleth is only a few feet off the ground when he is overpowered by the net. His wings become tangled and he crashes to the ground below. Gorm leaps off the rear hatch and rushes over to the demon to secure the ensnarement. Leo walks over to the captain, who looks a little bewildered.
Hey, Cap, sorry. I would never be intentionally insubordinate.
Holy shit, Leo, what was that?
I won't lie. I didn't really have a plan, at least not right away. The news of my family, and
You needed some payback.
Leo nods, looking towards the ground in disappointment.
How did you know it was him?
I didn't, not at first. But that cat-like facial feature, and then when he spoke of music, I knew it was Beleth, and I knew how to defeat him.
The bat?
There's a quote I remember from my training. Then let the exorcist or conjurer take heed to himself. let him hold a hazel bat in his hand.
You took it quite literally. I think it's actually supposed to be a wand.
Well, I improvised.
As Leo and the captain talk through the harrowing events, Gorm quickly stands and smells the air. Then he kneels down and places an ear to the ground. It's faint at first, but there is a deep tremor that turns into a rumbling, heading right for the trio.
What is it, Gorm?
Laurie places her arm around Hugh, who needed some time to recuperate.
Mr. Banks, I'm sorry, but we really need to go.
She helps guide him towards the attic door, when he suddenly stops, slapping Laurie's hand away. Hugh's palms begin to shake and he looks towards the attic window.
Mr. Banks?
Gorm races towards the Humvee, pulls the driver's side open and enables the pulse emitter again. It immediately begins to pulse rapidly. The rumbling sound gets closer.
It sounds like galloping?
Wait a minute. And before whom go trumpets and all kinds of melodious music, and he rode upon a magnificent pale horse? Shit! Cap! Get in the Humvee!
Captain Mangut and Leo rush into the cabin of the Humvee just as a massive pale horse appears. Even from the vantage point within the vehicle, the horse towers above the Humvee. The pale horse speeds past Bailiff, who remains on the ground ensnared in the net.
He's not slowing down!
Everyone hold on to something!
The pale horse exposes its teeth and lowers its head. Running at full tilt towards the Humvee, it rams the side of the Humvee with full force, denting the armor and overturning the vehicle. The sudden impact bursts open the cabin, sending Gorm and Captain Mangut flying. Gorm hits the ground and is immediately unconscious, while the captain lands on her back, slamming her head against the hard forest floor. Leo remains in the vehicle, battered and pinned between the seats. In that same moment, back in Missouri, Hugh Banks is being infiltrated by Bailiff once again, who is regaining consciousness. In Limbo, the pale horse reappears, its ears flattened backwards and its lips retracted. It paws the ground, shrieks, and then launches itself towards the capsized Humvee. Hugh Banks turns towards Laurie, kisses, and springs forth, leaping across the attic floor. The pale horse closes in on the Humvee, lowering its head to prepare for another battering. The possessed man tackles Laurie, sending them both flying through the attic window. The horse slams into the overturned Humvee with all its might, lifting it off the ground as it teeters in midair. Hugh Banks and Laurie Stryker crash land on the parked patrol cruiser underneath them as they are showered with jagged shards of glass. As the Humvee arcs downwards back towards the ground, the captain witnesses in terror as the military vehicle bears down on her.
No!
Theo Brawn is a production of Shoestring TV. Have you subscribed to the Patreon site yet? What are you waiting for? For only $5 a month, you'll gain early access to each episode, early access to bonus clips, concept art, and so much more. So look for us at patreon.com/shoestringtv. You'll be glad you did. You can also join and follow Leo Brawn on our official Facebook fan page. You can find the link in our podcast show notes. As always, you can listen to Leo Brawn anywhere you listen to podcasts. Leo Brawn is written and produced by me, Jason Beard, and now the amazing cast of Leo Brawn Episode 10. Stitch Mainville as Leo Brawn, Andy Parkin as Narrator 2, Tabitha Mixon as Jillian Burkett, Gary Briscoe as Willie Topaz, Emily Fry as Laurie Stryker, Miller Rose Johnson as Captain F.J. Menkett, Jim Frank as Mele, Eric Carlino as Hugh Banks, Logan Beard as Theo Banks, Samantha D'Souza as Beatrice Banks, Mitch Lashinsky as Gorm, Nick Mars as Officer Shepard, Rob Smith as Officer Turtletop, Robert Lloyd as Howard and the Desk Officer, Jason Beard as Deputy McGuire, and Aliana Rivera as Onlooker. Stay tuned for Leo Brawn, Episode 11, Mr. Nice Guy. Thanks again for listening.
The characters and events depicted in this podcast are fictional. Any similarity to any actual persons, living or dead, or to actual events, firms, places, and institutions, or other entities is coincidental and unintentional. This podcast is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Its unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability and criminal prosecution. Country of first publication, the United States of America. Leo Brawn, copyright 2024, Shoestring TV. Leo Brawn and all related characters are trademark and copyright of Shoestring TV. All rights reserved.